Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. This quote might have you questioning everything you thought you knew, but these next 10 quotes will take you even deeper, leaving you lost in thought, contemplating the nature of existence and whether you've truly been living. 10. The eye sees only what the mind is prepared to comprehend. Robertson Davies. We often assume that our senses give us an accurate picture of the world, but what if we're only seeing what our minds are ready to process? Davies suggests that our perception of reality is always limited by our cognitive abilities and mental framework. Think of it like a filter. What your mind doesn't understand, it simply leaves out. This idea challenges us to question just how much of the world remains invisible, because our minds haven't expanded enough to grasp it. How much of reality are we missing, because our minds aren't prepared to comprehend it? 9. What you perceive, your observations, feelings, interpretations are all your truth. Your truth is not my truth. What is true for you is not true for me. Steve Maraboli. Maraboli's quote is a reminder that reality is subjective. We often act as if the world we see is the same world everyone else experiences, but perception is deeply personal. What you believe is true is shaped by your experiences, emotions, and even your biases. Maraboli urges us to consider how each person lives in their own version of reality. While we might share the same world, we don't necessarily share the same truth. Are we even capable of perceiving an objective reality, or are we always confined to our personal version of it? 8. We do not see things as they are, we see them as we are. Anais Nin. This quote takes Maraboli's concept a step further. Nin argues that our perception of reality is not just shaped by our experiences, but by who we are as individuals. Our mood, mindset, and personality color the way we interpret the world. If you're in a negative state of mind, even neutral events might seem hostile or threatening. Nin's insight serves as a reminder that much of what we see in the world is actually a reflection of ourselves. How often do we mistake our internal state for objective truth? 7. There are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception. Aldous Huxley. Huxley invites us to consider the limits of our understanding. The doors of perception are the boundaries between what we know and what we have yet to learn. What we perceive is only a fraction of what exists, and many of those unknowns remain hidden behind the limitations of our senses and minds. It's a reminder to keep questioning and exploring, because there's always more to reality than what we can currently perceive. What lies beyond the doors of perception that we've never dared to open. 6. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche touches on a discomfort many of us face, the fear of truth. We often cling to comforting illusions because they shield us from harsh realities. Nietzsche reminds us that facing the truth is painful but necessary. Many people live their lives in denial, choosing the comfort of illusions over the challenge of confronting reality. But real growth requires that we break down these illusions, no matter how unsettling it may be. What truths are we avoiding because they threaten to shatter our carefully constructed realities? 5. Man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is. Albert Camus. Camus's observation speaks to the existential struggle of humanity. Unlike animals, which accept their nature without question, humans tend to resist their true selves. We create elaborate identities and narratives to escape from the truth of what we are. This refusal to accept reality leads to inauthentic living, an idea central to existential philosophy. Camus challenges us to stop running from the uncomfortable truths of our existence and to live more authentically. Are we spending too much time constructing facades to avoid who we really are? 4. Your assumptions are your windows on the world. Scrub them off every once in a while, or the light won't come in. Isaac Asimov. Asimov's metaphor highlights how our assumptions cloud our view of reality. Just like windows, assumptions frame and limit what we see. Over time, these assumptions become outdated or inaccurate, yet we rarely question them. Asimov urges us to challenge our assumptions regularly, to scrub them clean so that we can see the world more clearly. Without doing so, we risk living in a distorted version of reality. How often do we challenge our long-held beliefs, or do we let them cloud our view of the world? 3. The more real you get, the more unreal the world gets. John Lennon. Lennon's quote touches on the disorientation that comes with seeking truth. The more we strip away the illusions and facades in our lives, the more surreal the world can feel. It's an unsettling but powerful reminder that the pursuit of authenticity often reveals just how much of what we believe is constructed or false. As we get closer to the truth, the familiar world begins to feel strange. Have you ever experienced this? A moment when something that seemed so certain suddenly felt unreal? 2. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Marcel Proust. Proust challenges the idea that discovery is about finding new places or experiences. Instead, it's about changing the way we see what's already in front of us. Often the most profound revelations come not from exploring new worlds, but from reinterpreting the one we already know. Proust invites us to question our perspective. Are we truly seeing reality, or just a narrow version of it? Can we ever discover what's truly real without first changing the way we see? 1. The only real prison is fear, and the only real freedom is freedom from fear. Aung San Suu Kyi. Fear, Suu Kyi suggests, is the ultimate barrier between us and reality. Fear keeps us trapped, preventing us from experiencing the world as it truly is. Much like prisoners who never attempt to leave their cage, we often remain imprisoned by our own fears, unaware that freedom is just on the other side. Suu Kyi reminds us that the key to understanding reality and living authentically lies in overcoming our fears. What might we discover about life and about ourselves if we freed ourselves from fear? So what is reality? It's not as simple as what we see or believe. These quotes push us to question our perceptions, challenge our assumptions, and dig deeper into the nature of existence. Reality, it seems, is more subjective than we often realize. Whether it's fear, our assumptions, or our own biases, something is always filtering the world we think we know. So, before you settle on what you believe is true, remember to keep questioning. Reality may be far more elusive than it appears.